So I got my new lock plates in. So as you can see, I did not want to use the old lock plates. I do have to take a little bit off of the edge. I'm one-handed here, off the edge of the stop, because I have a narrow beam, and for some reason it just will not allow it to rotate all the way around or all the way through. So I gotta grind that just a little bit. It's just about a 1/16, maybe a little bit more. So I have redone pretty much everything on the steering box, but I wanted to replace these lock plates, so I'm going to get the lock plates on there, and then we're going to mount up this steering box, start getting the rest of the front end together. I am still working on the spring plates. I broke a couple bolts, so I had to order new bolts, and I'm struggling with getting the plates off of the one side, the passenger side there, and not very easy on the other side either. So I did buy the spring plate tool, but it is not getting any easier to get that off. So I may have to cut the torsion cap to get that loose. I don't want to, but I can get replacement caps, and then but that bottom one will not come out of there, and I'm not sure why. I kind of regretted getting into it at first, but you know, now that I'm there, I could see from the side that the rubber bushing was in really bad shape anyway, and now that the bolts are breaking on me, it just kind of tells me that it really wasn't that safe just leaving it. So I'm kind of glad I did start to mess with it. So I'm going to get that. If I got to cut it off, I cut it off, and I'll just replace it with caps, replacement caps. But I'm going to get the spring plate off itself and repaint it and get it back in there. Once I get the cap off, I can figure out a way to get those unthreaded and weld on some nuts and get it back those out without having to re-tap them, because that is not going to be fun. So I did order the new rubber bushings from CIP1, and just cleaned up all my hardware for the spring plates themselves. So that's sitting there. I do have some additional M10 bolts and nuts and stuff like that, miscellaneous stuff that I'll use the nuts and everything for. I'm going to try to use as much of the original hardware as possible, but if it's in pretty bad shape, I'm not. Some of the nuts are pretty rough. So I've got a few sitting there that I'm going to redo. I use those instead.
2,000 years later.
I got the spring plate covers off on both sides. Now I'm working on trying to work these studs out that I broke on the bottom. And got the spring plates over there being painted. Ran out of chassis black, so I have red, and honestly I really don't care. It is what it is at this point. Tried to make a whole trip to Home Depot. That was a disaster, and so what I have here is what I have and what I'm going to use. So spring plates are going to be red, and the old spring plate covers are pretty rough. They're rusted and they got holes in them, and I don't know that I trust them. So fortunately the only ones I could find were chrome ones, so I will be using chrome. Alright, so coming together, a couple extra things. Did add the master cylinder. I got my brake line kit. I'm waiting for the tie rod, narrow tie rod ends, and the sway bar. I got the sway bar clamps. We got a bunch of the hoses and all that stuff in there, in addition to the kit and everything. I did find out that my caps were pretty messed up for my torsion arms, so I did order the less expensive ones, and they are chrome, which I could care less about, but they are. Got my steering damper. So that's it. That'll be going in. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at right now. I did put my shift rod in the hole, or in the tunnel. Not in the hole, but in the tunnel. On my transmission, I re-gasketed. Put all new seals, just new seals in the side plates. And I did the nose cone gasket, and then all new hardware on it, and new main shaft seal. And I got to put the cover back over it, so that'll be happening. I drained all the fluids and didn't find any shavings. Put a scope in it, looked at it, didn't see anything immediately negative, but I don't know enough about these to pull that completely apart, and I don't know that I want to tackle that. So a little bit of a gamble, but we'll see. So it is back together. That was a real bitch. There's the axles. I've actually got 3 sets of axles. So I'm going to build one set out of the one, and I took the best looking axle and cleaned them up, painted them, and then I'll build one good set off of the 3 sets. Flip my chassis, seam sealed, painted. Got these today. Over, getting ready to finish running the brake lines, and then I've got all of the studs and acorn nuts that I can get this baby jacked up and get it rolling. I'm probably going to wait until I get the tie rods on, which got the tie rods right here. I just painted up just to give them, because they're raw. Then I got the front sway bar and sway bar hardware. So that's the next piece. Got the sway bar on. Pretty much all the tie rods and everything are kind of, they're in place, and they're tightened up, but they're not completely there yet. Still got to do a final adjustment on the steering box. I've got some extra clips. I went ahead and ordered the stainless steel clips for the lines, front and back, just because the old ones that I had were they were pretty nasty, and they're bent up, and they just not looking real good. So started to put all the fuel line grommets and everything in there. Got all the brake lines ran, with the exception of this last one. Got the wrong kit sent to me. It was for 67 and 68, so that would not have been IRS. So I kind of made do, because I had some extra brake lines that I could do the 2 rear IRS arms. So I just got to do just this last one that ties these 2 together. Transmission's in. So all new mounting hardware and rubber mounts. I did not go with the urethane for the transmission, because I've done that before and it rides like a damn log wagon. So like the rubber, gonna stay with the rubber. So everything else is pretty much there. Just got air shocks in, started to put them in. Not sure about the clearance with these guys quite yet. So the idea was, if I see if I can do this without shaking the camera a whole lot. If I put the body on, let's see if I can turn this around. If I put a little bit of weight on it, and that's not all my weight either, but I mean, it's pretty low. And I'm not even, putting my weight on it is really not even mimicking the body yet. So, but yeah, I'm going to get ready to do the heater channels. I'm going to switch the positions of the pan and the body. Trying to find somewhere that I can order the tube that I need to run the clutch tube. So once the clutch tube's done, I'm pretty much done with the chassis then. That's really the last pending thing other than that brake line and shocks. I've got shocks for the rear coming in. They're just not here yet. So put the shocks on the rear, figure out if I'm going to use the air shocks up front or if I'm going to just put regular shocks on it. I would rather have the air shocks because I have a feeling I'm going to be having some problems getting in and out of my driveway. Not a big incline, but enough. So that is kind of where I'm at. Like I said, started running putting all the little grommets and seals in. Struggling. I had to re-drill these because I went with a thicker stainless steel line when I ran my fuel line. So I had to drill the grommets a little bit bigger. But pressing them into place has been kind of a pain, front and rear. So, got my new wheels on. Probably end up having to change the front tires out. I got a good deal on these. These were on a car. The guy bought them and then didn't like them, and so I got a good deal. Wheels and tires. Couldn't pass it up, even though I might have to switch the front tires and go with a little bit lower profile. But I mean, wheels and tires, can't beat it. So it's a full rolling roller now. Like I said, last couple last things. Once that clutch tube's in there, I'll weld that back hole up, and then the front hole has got the air cooled little cover plate. And I did a little bit of graphic to it. This is what happens when you're in quarantine and you're bored. I also did it on the side of the, I don't know if you can see those, on the spring plates. Spring plates are completely painted, all new hardware on the spring plates, all new hardware on spring plate covers and everything. These guys were complete trash. I did not want to use the aftermarket hardware on the spring plates, but I didn't have much choice because the originals were damn near severed. I mean, the indentation on those bolts were just, they were ruthless. So, got my IRS arms in, and of course they got the new IRS bushings in them. Yeah, I pretty much did everything on the transmission. Side plate covers, new gasket on the nose cone. I don't know if you can see, you can kind of see a little gasket hanging there. Sealed it up real good, checked the inside for any metal shavings or anything like that. New main shaft seal. But everything is pretty much wrapped up on the chassis with just a few little things hanging. And I should get that wrapped up here pretty soon, but I'll be on to the heater channels, and then I got to do some stuff with that. Where are they at? I think they might be inside the car. Yeah. Those guys, because as you can see, it's pretty bad there. I know this is probably pretty dark, but so that is where we're at.